This is our visit to Tumacacori National Historical Park in Arizona. Here, Woody is helping us out, pointing to the location of Tumacacori National Historical Park. You can see that it is in the deep south of the state of Arizona, near Bisbee, Arizona, south of Phoenix. Mexico gained independence from Spain. Its independence was recognized by Spain in 1821. On the left here, you see a map of Mexico when this area was part of Mexico. The map is from 1824, and the green marks a state of Mexico, which was Sonora y Sinaloa, recognized by the Mexican Constitution. Mexico lost a significant amount of territory to the United States following the Mexican-American War, which lasted from 1846 to 1848. The war ended with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, signed on February 2, 1848. As a result, Mexico ceded large areas of land to the United States, about 525,000 square miles, including present-day California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, and parts of Colorado, New Mexico, and Wyoming. On the right, you can see a division there between the United States and Mexico. In this area, when Spain ruled this area, it was called Pimeria Alta. And we're visiting Tumacacori, which you can see there in the right side of the center. And this map is all of the missions that were in this area under Spain. This is a satellite view of the park. Down in the lower left corner is the church. Just above that, where you see a perfect circle, that area, and above it is the cemetery. To the right of that, where there you see a couple of walled areas or foundations, and that would be the convent area. And then far over on the right was a very significant orchard. This is how the complex might have looked. You see the church there left of center, and to the left of that, the cemetery. To the right, down below center, is the current visitor center. Much of that is the area of the convent. And then you see up in the upper center the extensive orchard. When the Jesuit priest arrived in 1687, his assignment was to establish missions in New Spain's northwestern frontier. As he wrote, he served two majesties, the church and the crown. For the church, missions saved souls and spread the Catholic faith. For the crown, they served as training grounds for native people to learn their assigned role as subjects of the king and citizens of a growing New Spain. The priest's first responsibility in founding a new mission was to build a church. When the Jesuits first arrived at Tumacacori, they held services in a simple shelter and eventually replaced this with the masonry flat-roofed buildings. The largest and most elaborate of Tumacacori's churches was begun about 1800 and was dedicated in 1822. The bottom right there is a picture of the church in 1868. Above that is the church as it looked in 1912, and then to the left as it looked when we visited in 2024. The front of the church was brightly painted. The columns were red and the Egyptian-style capitals were yellow with black markings. You can still see holes in the bell tower where scaffolding was built into the walls during the construction. Far upper left are our friends Dick and Barb, who joined us on this visit. There were no pews or side chapels. The church is in the form of a long hall. Lining the walls are 4 side altars where devotional candles could be placed. Statues of saints stood in the niches above. After its abandonment in 1848, the roof was removed and local settlers reused the timbers. The sanctuary was protected by a domed ceiling made of fired adobe bricks. This room is still adorned with remnants of original paint, picture frames, and stenciling. In the center here is the choir loft. The mission might have supported a dozen singers and musicians. Choir members memorized songs in Latin, Spanish, and in Oda. On the right is what is left of the choir loft today, and on the left, the staircase to the choir loft. This perfectly round building was the mortuary chapel, where vigils for the dead could be held before a burial. It still needed a domed ceiling and additional plastering when the mission was abandoned. There are still holes for the scaffolding remaining around the sides. This plot of ground was laid out by the missionaries as a holy place where their growing numbers of converts could be buried. After the priests left, treasure hunters vandalized the graves and cattle were corralled here. No markers remain of these early graves. A high whitewashed wall surrounds the cemetery. Nearby residents continued to consider this sanctified ground and continued to inter their dead here. While records show nearly 600 burials between 1755 and 1825, the first took place here in 1822. The niches in the walls would have held paintings or sculptures of the Catholic Stations of the Cross. The mission had a communal system of growing and distributing food. In addition to the Ohodam diet, the Spanish introduced horses, sheep, goats, cattle, wheat, and fruit trees from Europe. This area was a storeroom. These photos are of the interior of the convent area. On the right, you may be able to tell that wall on the far right is bowing and needed some outside support. On the right here is some of the remains of the convent. And as I mentioned earlier, that wall needed some support, so those buttresses there are holding that wall, keeping it from collapsing. Here, limestone rocks were heated, then pounded into a fine powder used to make lime mortar and plaster. Though laborious, it was, and still remains, the best protection possible for sun-dried adobe bricks. On the right here is a modern construction of a traditional Ohodam dwelling. A muruki is made of mesquite timbers, saguaro ribs, octio sticks, and mud. It was built in 1997 by Ohodam people using traditional hand tools. And on the left, the home would also have a wa'ato, or shade ramada. With the arrival of Europeans, new species of fruit trees were brought to New Spain. The orchard produced peaches, apricots, plums, pears, quince, pomegranates, figs, olives, sour oranges, and limes. Gardens of beans, squash, and other vegetables were planted in the shade beneath the orchard trees. And this concludes our visit to Tumacacori National Historical Park, and we're off to other sites.